let's jump straight in. Think about the word spiritual for a moment. What comes to your mind? Because, the meaning we attach to that word can be so different, shaped by our upbringing or beliefs, all sorts of things.
Exactly, and that's precisely what we're digging into in this deep dive today. We're focusing on the concept of spiritual, specifically how it appears on the Usui Memorial Stone for Reiki.
Right, and our source for this is an article called The Hidden Wisdom in the Usui Memorial Stone Reiki with Bronwyn. It really got us thinking about this one key word, or rather this single kanji character, Rei.
Yeah, that character is central. And our goal isn't just about, dictionary definitions.
Yeah.
We want to understand how a traditional Japanese perspective on this core idea can actually shift your understanding of your own experiences, whatever you consider spiritual, and any practices you engage in.
Right, it's like how a subtle shift in perspective can really fundamentally influence what those experiences mean to you.
Exactly. It's about the meaning making.
So let's talk about the West first. When we hear spiritual, what kind of ideas usually pop up? For me, it often involves, reaching for something more, something beyond the everyday.
It's a very common way to understand it, yeah. The article touches on this, how Western culture often frames spirituality as a kind of journey of attainment. Raising your vibration, ascending to a higher level, maybe transcending limitations.
Yeah, there's this sort of underlying idea of transformation, isn't there? From the ordinary or mundane to something sacred and elevated.
Exactly, like you're trying to become something different, something better.
It's like we're constantly trying to level up our spiritual selves.
Right. But the article suggests a very different approach from a traditional Japanese viewpoint, centered around that kanji rei.
Okay, so what's different about it?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the Japanese understanding, deeply connected to that character, rei, doesn't necessarily see that same stark division between the mundane and the sacred. Yeah. Spirituality isn't some distant goal you have to achieve. It's something much closer, something to remember or perhaps uncover.
Something to remember.
It's already inherently present in everything.
Already present. Wow, okay. That completely reframes things. So instead of striving, it's more about recognition. Is that the idea?
Precisely. Recognition. And this aligns really strongly with Shinto beliefs, where the sacred, the kami, is seen as indwelling.
Indwelling, okay.
It's not something external you have to go searching for. It's the fundamental essence of everything.
Yeah.
So the focus shifts from this sort of outward quest to an inward awareness and just tending to this inherent sacredness. You don't become spiritual. You realize your inherent spirituality.
That shift feels huge. It kind of changes the pressure we often feel, to constantly improve ourselves spiritually.
It does. Instead of focusing on what's wrong or what needs fixing, you start from a place of inherent value and potential. That can be incredibly liberating, I think. Much more room for self-compassion.
That makes sense. And it also makes me think about how much emphasis we put on belief in the West. Like, you have to sign up for a certain set of ideas to be seen as spiritual.
Good point.
But the article hints at a different priority in the Japanese tradition.
Yes, definitely. The emphasis leans much more heavily towards spiritual method, Reihu.
Okay.
It's about discipline, consistent practice, and direct experience, often taking precedence over strict belief systems or doctrines.
So what you do, the embodied practice, carries more weight than maybe intellectually agreeing with a particular idea.
Kind of, yeah. It's not that beliefs aren't there, but the action, the experience, is often primary.
Which makes sense with something like Reiki, which is very hands-on. And the article also talks about this idea of subtle awareness. I admit I'm so used to thinking of big, dramatic, spiritual moments.
Right. We often link spiritual progress with these intense emotional experiences or these profound revelations.
Yeah, the lightning bolt moments.
Exactly. But the Japanese tradition, as described here, seems to value a much quieter, more nuanced approach, really noticing the ordinary with extraordinary attention.
So being fully present in the everyday rather than chasing after some spectacular feeling.
That seems to be the core of it. And this appreciation for the subtle, it naturally leads us to another key difference, the perceived separation between the spiritual and the physical.
Okay. Which ties into this idea that there isn't this huge gap between the spiritual and the material, right? You mentioned ki earlier.
Yes, ki, this vital life force. It's crucial to understand the ki isn't something that needs to be summoned or channeled from some external source to bridge the material and immaterial.
It just is the bridge.
It's the very fabric that weaves them together. It exists without contradiction. The sacred isn't confined to some other dimension. It's totally integrated into the here and now, into everyday life.
Okay. And this really comes alive when we look at the example of Teet, the hands-on aspect of Reiki.
Yes, Teet.
In the West, we might see it as, directing energy to heal something specific or fixing a problem.
Right. The Western perspective often focuses on actively doing something, directing energy, removing blockages, intending a particular healing outcome. There's a lot of intention involved.
But the Japanese understanding, as the article highlights, reframes this completely. Placing your hands becomes a gentle, physical reminder.
A reminder. Okay, a reminder of what? Exactly. If some energy we're supposed to be moving around.
No, not necessarily about moving energy in that active sense. It's more a reminder of our inherent wholeness.
Wholeness.
Yeah. The hands aren't there to fix something broken, but to gently bring our awareness, both for the giver and receiver, back to the inherent balance and completeness that is already present. It's like a tangible anchor to the present moment and our intrinsic well-being. Just a simple remembering.
That's such a subtle but, wow, powerful difference. It takes the pressure off, doesn't it? It's not about making something happen.
Exactly. It removes that pressure to perform or achieve a specific result. The article even suggests a simple exercise, something we can try ourselves right now.
Yes, a very simple yet potentially profound practice. Just placing your hands on your body anywhere that feels natural.
Okay.
And doing it without any goal in mind. No trying to feel energy, no intention to heal, just simply being present with the sensation of your hands, your breath, the feeling of life within you.
Just noticing.
It's purely an exercise in remembering rather than doing.
I'm doing that now. And it's interesting how different it feels when you let go of any expectations of what you're supposed to experience. It's just being, which that connects directly to this idea of the wisdom of not doing that the article brings up.
The wisdom of not doing.
That feels very counterintuitive to our Western drive for constant progress and achievement. Action, action, action.
It absolutely does. We're so conditioned to equate progress with action, with striving, with measurable results, setting goals and hitting them. But the Japanese perspective, particularly in relation to you, often finds wisdom in letting go, in ceasing to strive so hard. True progress in this context can actually come from allowing ourselves to simply be, to flow with the natural rhythm of things, rather than constantly trying to control or force them.
But I guess a question that might come up for people is, if spirituality is already present, doesn't that diminish the value of practices aimed at self-improvement or growth? Why bother?
That's a great question. And I think the idea isn't that practices are without value, but that their intention shifts.
Ah, okay. The intention.
Yeah. Instead of striving to become something spiritual because you feel you lack it, practices become ways to remember and embody that inherent spirituality more fully.
I see.
It's a subtle but really significant difference in motivation and focus.
Yeah.
It's less about fixing a deficit and more about exploring a presence.
So when we see Rei showing up repeatedly in the Usui Memorial Stone, it's not pointing to some far-off spiritual accomplishment we need to chase.
No.
It's this consistent nudge, this gentle invitation.
To remember what's already here. Exactly. It's not a symbol of some lofty spiritual state to be attained way up high, but a persistent reminder of a present reality to be recognized right here, right now.
It shifts the entire focus of our practice, whatever that may be, meditation, anything.
It really can.
So if we really take this understanding to heart, how might it change how we approach our own practices? Whether it's meditation, yoga, even just taking a walk in nature.
Well, the invitation is to shift from a mindset of fixing, changing, or achieving some specific outcome to one of remembering. Remembering your inherent wholeness, remembering the interconnectedness of things, remembering the sacredness that is already woven into the fabric of your experience, even in the mundane stuff.
And I'm thinking, I can see how remembering is different from striving, but are there situations where striving might still be a valuable aspect of a spiritual journey? Is it totally dismissed?
That's another really interesting point to consider. I don't think it means striving is inherently bad or useless, but maybe the quality of the striving changes. Instead of striving from a place of perceived lack or inadequacy, the motivation becomes one of deeper exploration and appreciation of what's already present.
Ah, so it's like a striving fueled by curiosity, maybe.
Exactly. curiosity, or a desire for deeper connection, rather than a need to fix oneself or escape something. It's a different engine driving it.
Okay, so to recap then, this deep dive into the meaning of rei from a Japanese perspective, as highlighted in the article, it really shows us that spiritual doesn't always have to mean reaching for something beyond ourselves.
Right. It can be about recognizing the immanence of the sacred right here.
And prioritizing practice and subtle awareness over, say, just doctrine.
Yes, and fundamentally remembering the inherent wholeness is already within us and all around us.
It's a fundamental shift, like you said, from seeking to remembering.
Precisely. That's the core takeaway, I think.
So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. How might consciously shifting your perspective from seeking to remembering influence your daily experiences and your understanding of yourself and the world around you? What new possibilities might open up when you start from a place of inherent wholeness rather than perceived lack, something to mull over?